This screencast is meant to give you a few quick reminders about dealing with solutions and in particular talking about their concentrations. The first thing I wanted to remind you about is that when you go and into the lab and make a solution, we generally weigh out some amount of solute that you can see in the bottom here. That's done with a balance and usually we'll weigh it out to about 1/100 of a gram. But then when we talk about describing how to make the solution, if we want to tell someone how to do it, once we've got that amount in, and this is something called a volumetric flask here, that's what this is, we say that we add water until we get the desired volume. Because when we talk about molarity, we're talking about the moles of solute per liter of solution. So we have to incorporate the actual volume of the solute in the solution itself. Okay? Next, let's talk about the difference between molality on the one hand and molarity on the other. We've been dealing with molarity for a while. We know that we can take the moles of solute and divide it by the volume of solutions. In this case, we should make sure that we remember that it's in liters. Okay, so you've been doing that for a while. The big difference between the two different units, between molality on the one hand and molarity, is that here we're talking about the volume of the solution, the whole thing, versus in molality we're talking about the mass of just the solvent. Okay. You should also think carefully about why we need these two units. We talked about it in class. Make sure you understand it. It's also available in the reading in the book. Finally, let's talk about doing a dilution when we have a solution that's already made. So in this case, we have one that's 2.50 molar in terms of NaOH. But we want to dilute it. We want to make a less concentrated solution, in this case a 0.150 molar solution of NaOH. Then we want to use this equation here. All right, this is something that's also brought up in your reading, where M is the molarity and V is the volume. And we just simply need to plug the parts in. The idea here is that when we take the concentrated solution, this one up here, and dilute it, right, we're not doing anything with the actual number of moles, we're just changing the volume that those moles are in. Okay, so let's try this one out for size. A couple of things I want to point out for you here. They're working in milliliters, which is fine, but that means that this volume here would occur in milliliters as well. They took the product of the dilute solution, the volume and its concentration. Here you go, here's the concentration, here's the volume. And again, they wanted to figure out how much of this more concentrated solution that we have here that they needed to use. All right, so you can see that how they've gone through and divided the M1 out of both sides, and that's how we're going to find V1. Okay, lots of practice on this both out of class and in class.